Hi everyone, good evening.
Good evening, guys. Hello.
Yes, welcome to our 7 o'clock webinar. I'm sure you have had one with me. I've done several 8 to 10s this week and in the past. My name is Sean. I am Irish. I come from Ireland. I'm 21 and I work in Milan on the school on Via Meravigli, and I work with.
Yes, and I'm Thiago. So I work with Sean in Via Meravigli. I've been in Milan for quite a while now. I moved here in 2016, and I've been here ever since. And I'm from Brazil, but I partly grew up in California. And yeah, that's it. So yeah, this is our last batch of webinars for the week. Tomorrow we got a holiday going on. So yeah, guys, welcome.
Yeah.
Let us know if you have any plans for tomorrow. Again, I know you guys can't really leave the house, but on Monday we can. So let us know if you have any plans for tomorrow, for the weekend, or for next week when things are going to be just slightly different.
Mm-hmm. And this evening, our focus is inventions. So we are discuss using past, present, and future passives and presenting an invention. I think I'm having some connection issues.
Here, do you want me to do the
Can you
slides,
hear
Sean?
me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I think the slides are just a little bit delayed, but if you prefer, I can do the slides as well if you feel like, because mine usually handles it pretty okay.
Okay, yeah, maybe I think
Yeah.
my
Okay, so let me just remove
connection.
this one. Just 1 second, guys. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
add. Um, okay. All right. So it should be back. Can you see it? Okay, now that I changed it.
Yeah, I can.
All right. Perfect. So yeah. So as Sean mentioned, guys, we're talking about the passives today. Mostly to give you guys a chance to practice it. It's not the most difficult, if you think in terms of structure and grammar points. I think the passives is generally one of the most like straightforward ones because it is quite simple. Obviously, it's the kind of construction in which we invert the position of the subject and the object. So we start with the thing that is receiving the action, not with the person that is doing it. And then the structure is pretty, it's basically have the object of the active sentence plus verb to be plus past participle. So it's really simple. And it's the same thing for all the tenses. It doesn't change. The only thing, and I think that's what's difficult about it, it's not related so much to the passive, but it's related to your knowledge of all tenses. It's just knowing which tense to use because you will have to conjugate verb to be like that. And another thing I'm going to ask Sean, what students get confused sometimes is when to use the passive. So what do you think, Sean? When do you usually apply the passive when speaking or writing? Oh, I think maybe we lost Sean. All right, maybe he's going to be coming back soon. Anyway, guys, so I guess I can answer this. The passive we use when we are focused on the action. Okay, so when the action is more important than the person who did it, we tend to favor this construction. I mean, you can always use the active as well. All right, so don't think of it as you absolutely must use the passive, but it can be nice. It adds an extra flair to your sentences, especially if the subject is unknown. You could say someone did it, but see, the word someone doesn't communicate anything. So maybe the thing was done would work better. Or if the subject is really obvious, for instance, if I tell you that, since, I don't know, since 2011, iPhones have been made in China. I mean, we know that Apple is the company making these iPhones. It's obvious, so we can just say iPhones are made, and that works well. So anyway, we'll give you a chance to practice all this later on. And if you can, guys, as you can see in the bottom there, let us know your name. Let us know where you guys come from. It's always nice to know who we're talking with. Okay? So while we wait for Sean to come back, we're just going to get started here. Oh, hey, here you go. Hi, Sean.
Speak of the devil, yes, I'm back.
So no, I was just talking to them a bit about the passives and also how we tend to use it when the subject is either unknown or if it's really obvious. So
Yeah,
those are
that's
the two kind of most common cases. And I was also telling them that they don't need necessarily to use the passive, but if they're saying things like someone robbed the bank, that someone
mm,
doesn't give us any information, so it might be best
yeah.
to just use
It's,
the
it's 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 more efficient in certain circumstances. It can be a
yeah.
bit clunky to always subject, verb, object.
Yeah, it gives an extra level of fluency to
Hmm.
your speech when you're kind of mixing them. And it is important to mix. See, the thing is, like, you don't want to always just use the passive either, because then again, it gets just as repetitive. So, anyways, we'll be giving you guys some time towards the second half of this webinar to practice with some inventions. So, as we get started on the topic, let's just talk about inventions in general. So, Sean, do you want to maybe read that list there, and then we can maybe discuss a bit with these guys?
So, famous inventions. In your opinion, which invention is the most useful, the least useful, the most interesting, the craziest, the most important, and the most expensive?
Exactly. And then so here on the side, we have just some ideas, okay? But don't limit yourselves to just these inventions. I mean, we can always talk about anything really that comes to mind. So if you can,
Mhm.
guys, I mean, we see that there are 4 people here with us right now. So if you can comment, do participate so we can also kind of correct you. We can get some practice. So let us know. But in the meantime, Sean and I can discuss some of these. Let's see. Craziest invention, Sean. If you were to just pick one, or one of the craziest, what would you say?
I don't know. I've never thought about it. I find a lot of technology crazy. I mean, it's a very basic one, but I sometimes think about the camera because, I studied art history, and for, thousands of years, you had to draw something. If But with the camera, click, and there you have it forever. To me, it's a bit intense. It's a bit crazy when you really think about it, but
Yes,
maybe
especially
that's
like
a bit
how
meta.
easy and like how much we take for granted nowadays. The fact that we can just take millions of photos, and it's just so easy that it's almost like not special at all anymore. I mean, considering, for example, how I have like a really high quality camera on my phone, like I just never take pictures. You would think like, go back to the past, this would be like, wow, you don't have to go back that long. I mean, when I was a child, I mean,
Yeah.
a device that you can just capture
Mm.
really nice photos, even in kind of dark settings without any like huge apparatus. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, for you, what is the most useful in your life?
I mean, I would have to say the phone, just because nowadays, I mean, they just do so much. I mean, it's not only a communication device. I mean, if anything, that I use it, I don't use it really to communicate that much. I mean, most of the times it's scrolling, looking for information. But I mean, we just have everything on it. I mean, all the information you can possibly need. It's right in your pocket. It's fast. You
Yeah.
can take pictures. You can make phone calls. You can buy stuff. You pay for stuff. Really, like we just
Yeah.
have all these different functions on it. it's really useful and also, relatively inexpensive, because you can get a smartphone and not even pay that much nowadays. So that's also a pretty, crazy element of it too.
Yeah, and I mean, like you were saying, it's just in our lifetime. I mean, I remember when you had encyclopedias in your house, and if you wanted to know something, you look through this book. I mean, it's crazy to me now that just on my phone, anything I want to know at any time, I can investigate.
Yeah, and it was all
Yeah,
like one source, right? Because I mean, the encyclopedia, that was it. And if you wanted another source, you would have to go to a library and compare. I mean, but I remember thinking in college, writing papers, um, and like, what if you just had books? I mean, even just locating the information you need. I mean, the fact that we just go, control F and then you just type a keyword and it gives you all the keywords you might need for that topic. I mean, you would just physically have to look through the index, like look for the chapter, read the whole thing. Um, yeah, I don't know. I remember like complaining about
yeah,
papers, but then like thinking about like how easy I have it.
yeah, absolutely. Definitely. In university, I used to sometimes think, imagine having to handwrite all your
Oh,
assignments.
that's
I
another
couldn't
thing.
do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I mean, but then it's also there's so many things, because it's so easy to look things up, to do research, to write. I mean, we've also lost some skills, which we can also do without, of course. But I mean, handwriting is one that comes to mind, and certainly even when we talk about information, it's like all this. We have so much access to it that it's almost ironic that we live in a world in which it's like some people call it like kind of like the
Mm.
post-truth world, as in we don't, it's so easy, but we're not really looking at the information, we're not thinking critically about it or fact checking, even though it takes a minute to do it. um, so yeah, we get a bit of
Yeah.
an overload.
Yeah, I guess people are sick of the truth because it's so easy to access. They prefer lies now.
Yeah, it's like emotions. That's like the biggest way to kind of like get someone's attention. It's not through information.
Yeah. Mm.
All right. Well, guys, yeah, if anyone is there and can comment, that would be fantastic. So it's not just us talking. But I mean, of
Mm.
course, we can't keep talking, but it's better if you guys can participate. So we'll just do two more to give you time to write your answers. Is there an invention that you think is not particularly useful? At least, if you think even just like on a personal level, you don't find it useful in your life.
I think, I don't know, I find a lot of the kind of, I mean, obviously the iPhone is really useful, but a lot of the other technologies that are developing recently, for me, they're really pointless. Like the big ones are Apple Watches and Alexa. I don't understand why either of these are really useful, but a lot of people have them, a lot of people use them. For me, you have the phone, and that fulfills the functions of both of these things. And
Mm-hmm.
now they're trying to, I don't know, make more money with these. I don't understand. Do you have either of those?
I don't. I don't. And I also, it's something that I really don't want. I mean, see, I'm the kind of person that my phone, just even having that, it can really kind of like trigger a bit of like social anxiety. Just the constant need for, I mean, if someone wants to communicate with you, you're expected to be answering, or then you cannot open an app because they'll see you've been online. And so I don't know. I just really don't like how it kind of takes away my freedom, I think, just to kind of manage my own time. um, I mean, people who are close to me, like they understand I'm like that as well, so they don't, push me. But I cannot imagine having, yeah, like a device on my wrist that is demanding my attention, because even my phone on do not disturb mode, which is the default mode on my phone. I just don't even let it light up when I get a notification. I cannot imagine like something vibrating on my arm every time. And I don't see the benefit really. I mean, some people say, oh, it counts your steps and your heart rate. And I'm like, I don't know, at least for me, like I don't care that much, or my phone is also still counting my
Yeah.
steps and the distance that so I don't know. And say, I guess, yeah, for tablets as well, it just seems like a bigger version of my phone, but not as flexible as a computer. So I haven't found it
Yeah.
particularly useful. Definitely not worth the price because it's not cheap either. So yeah, I'll have to agree with you on that. What do you think, Maria Teresa? Are there any of these inventions, or we have the pictures here, but feel free to think of others. Choose an adjective there, and what do you think? The most expensive, the most important, whatever you want. I'll let Sean ask me another one while you're answering.
Yeah, so what is the most interesting? Do you find kind of science and tech interesting just generally?
I do, yeah. I do like reading about it. I like seeing how it develops, but I'm not necessarily one to immediately adopt it. One that I find really interesting, and I think it's been around for a while already, is 3D printing. And I just think of the potential benefits of it in terms of how, we think nowadays with all these companies producing, and kind of like pushing us to consume things, even like basic
Mm,
things. I don't know, maybe I need an object for my house, right? I mean, how many companies are involved in coming up with different colors, different designs, and all these things to try to push someone to buy it, but then you're using up all these resources to make it. Whereas I think 3D printing, it gives like such a nice kind of opportunity for these things to be sold differently, as in you could buy a design, take it to like a local community center of 3D printing, where they have the material, so you don't have to have one at home necessarily, and have things made for you. I see a lot of potential in that. I understand why, if you think of big corporations, why that would be their biggest nightmare, for people to be cheaply, printing their own products. So I think it's very hard for this to actually happen.
yeah.
But I think there's a lot of potential there with 3D printing. It's getting really advanced. But interestingly, it doesn't seem like we see it that
Yeah.
much. It's still like this kind of obscure
Mm,
thing. I mean, how many 3D printers have you seen?
I know I've never seen one. To me, it seems impossible. It seems like fantasy, but they really are developing it and getting quite far. For me, the dream would be able to just print, clothes or anything that you
Sure,
need in
yeah,
that
but
moment.
and
But I
that's the
think
thing. It really is. You can do so much with it. And see, if we were to fund like 3D printing centers, so all you'd have to do is pay for the file, the rights of whatever company came up with that design. It would be much cheaper and so much more sustainable in terms of like the use of resources. Okay, thank you, Maria Teresa, for participating. We have, she says, in my opinion, the most important invention is the internet. Oh, yeah, I can't believe we forgot about the internet. Is the internet connection, because for me, it is very important keeping in touch with my family wherever I am. Yeah, especially during this time. Can you imagine living through this without the internet?
No, I mean, I really can't. And, I have asked my parents, what did you do all day when there was no internet? And they said we were really bored all the time, but everyone was. It was really normal.
Yeah.
And just, small things like if there are extenuating circumstances and you were supposed to meet someone somewhere at a specific time, before the internet, before mobile phones, nobody knew what was going on,
You just had to hope they would show up.
Yes, send a letter. I don't know, like,
Wow. I can, yeah, even, it's funny in terms of meeting with people. I'm like the kind of person, I get so impatient with that I need to know what's happening. So like sometimes I'll even ask if people are running late or something. I was like, all right, can you share your location? Like, can I see where you are in real time? Like, because then I feel like, if I want to like go away and then kind of come back and take a little walk, I can do it. But I hate just sitting in one place waiting. But yeah, I guess before that was the norm. I guess
Yeah,
if you live in a country in which like punctuality is important, it's not as bad. But you
I
know,
mean, back in the day in the south of Italy, I can't even imagine.
right? It's crazy. Um, all right, guys, cool. So we're gonna move on here. Um, okay, I guess. Well, yeah, let's have a look at this vocab so we can then focus a bit more on production of the passives. We talked quite a bit about inventions. So we got some vocab we can use to talk about inventions. I'm going to ask Sean to read the words and I will read the definitions. Maria Teresa, anybody else watching us, if you could maybe just match them, that would be great.
Yes. So we have a patent, to flop, to take off, to come up with an idea, obsolete and feasible.
Great. And the definitions are capable of doing, to achieve popular success, to completely fail, useless or outdated, to think of, and the exclusive legal right to manufacture, use, or sell an invention. Let's see, Maria Teresa tells us during this quarantine, I have found out a lot of things to do. Uh, I have found many things to do, or I discovered many things to do to pastime. I think it might be better. Pastime. So spend time is just something you do, right? I spent a lot of time at the I don't know. I spent a lot of time like at the beach growing up or something like that. So this to be in a place for some time. Pastime is the idea of you're bored and you want to do something to make the time go by faster. So they're quite similar, but there's a difference there. And apart, tailoring on internet. What do you mean tailoring on internet? Maybe browsing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe browsing on the internet. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, let us know what you mean by tailoring there, Maria Teresa, just so we can make sure what you mean exactly.
Mm. Maybe she's doing a tailoring course.
Ah, maybe.
A lot of people are doing things like that.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to Anika actually during one of the webinars, and she makes a lot of her own clothes. She was telling me.
Yeah, she does. She has a lot of craft hobbies and things like that.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. That's one thing I wish I could do more during the quarantine. I really feel like I need some kind of like artistic outlet, but I don't have the skills for it. And I'm the kind of person like, see, I know I should just focus on the process, but then I can't help but like, oh, but it's gonna be terrible. So why bother? Like just this terrible attitude.
Yeah. No, I paint a lot and I used to have the same attitude and I got frustrated and I would always stop and lose it. And I really don't know at what point I just said it's not important how good it is. It's just
Yeah.
something to
Yeah, because
do.
it's not like I'm doing it to showcase or sell or anything.
Yeah.
I'd be doing it, for myself. Um, I
Mm,
remember like in the past, I got a bit into bullet journaling, and that was quite nice because it was kind of like a way of doing kind of managing productivity, but while also kind of having some kind of creativity because I could just play with it.
mm,
But then I started teaching, and I don't know, my days were just kind of already made for me. It was just like I had a timetable,
yeah.
and I teach this, I do this, so I didn't have much to add to it.
Oh, right.
So so then I would
Mm,
forget, and I was like, oh gosh, I totally forgot about that week. Okay, well, let me start this week, and then I would like,
yeah. No, my sister is like that. She always has two diaries at least at any time.
uh
One
huh,
is more official, one is personal. one is more detailed, one is less detailed. I couldn't have one diary. I cannot process time in that way. To plan
Uh,
ahead like that is just scary to me. I can't do it. I just take every day as it comes.
oh, really? Yeah. No, I mean, it was actually really good. I mean, especially when I had like a lot of things to do, a lot of responsibilities, it really helped me to, I mean, because it forced me to do it every morning, kind of plan out my day. And it was like a really good way to see what I hadn't done. And so it was just such a good system of combining this more creative need that I have that also didn't require a lot of skill necessarily. And then as I learn how to, draw better or do, just, I don't know, to create my pages like in a prettier way, I could just kind of keep getting better and better and better. But then there was also this more practical use for it that pushed me to do it every day. And so that was like a
Yeah.
good system. Yeah, I keep saying I'll go back to it, but then I tried and I'm like, oh, what am I gonna write on these pages? Like how much water I drink in a day? Like did I eat enough
Yeah,
iron? Like I don't know. I thought about all these things, but I just haven't done it.
yeah. It's definitely important to have something. I don't think it really matters what it is ultimately.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna start matching these guys. So a patent, that is an interesting one for the Italian speakers because in Italian it means a driver's license. In English, a patent would be the last one here. So if you invent something and you don't want your idea, you want that invention copied or used by someone else, you can file for a patent. You can get a patent on your product. That way, it becomes your product. You have all the exclusive legal rights to do anything with it. Yeah. You want to do the next one there, Sean?
Yes, so to flop, which is a verb for to completely fail, I would say
Mm-hmm.
to spectacularly fail. And we use it for inventions, but it's also very much used for entertainment, for
Entertainment. Yeah,
film,
I think of theater. Yeah,
yeah,
films. Uh-huh.
music, theater. If a show, if an album is not a success, it doesn't sell, it's a flop. It's about kind of how much you sell with an invention. It's not really about does the invention work, it's about does it sell, I think.
Great. Then we have to take off, which would be the opposite of that. So it's to be successful. So if we're talking about a product, it took off. I mean, we use it usually when we're talking about planes, takeoffs. It's about going up, right? So the sales went up, so the product took off. The company took off.
Mhm.
Um, oh, I think Maria Teresa had maybe lost her connection there. So welcome back. Okay, you want to do the next one?
Yeah. So to come up with an idea, now this is a really, really common phrasal verb, which I know that people don't actually know what this means because when I began teaching, I thought this was a very straightforward thing to say. And I would say, what did you guys come up with? And my students would look at me blankly. It means just to think of. It's very simple. We put these two additions to come and we make this phrasal verb. I don't know why we insist on doing this in English, but it's really to come up with, use it
Yeah.
constantly.
When I think of come up with, I think of a light bulb on top of your head. That's
Yeah.
like the
Mhm.
come up with
Yeah.
something. If something is obsolete, I think that's pretty similar to Italian. It's something that is useless, it's outdated. We don't really need it anymore. See, before we just go back here, see this product, because of cell phones, I mean, the landline has
Mm.
become pretty much obsolete. We don't really need it anymore. And then we have that last one there.
Feasible, to be capable of doing. So more often, I think we talk about something being unfeasible. It's not possible. It cannot be realized. It cannot be created. We don't have the
Mm-hmm.
money. We don't have the resources. If it is feasible, we do have the money. We do have the resources.
Exactly. So Maria Teresa just clarified the word was to say. Okay, so now I understand what you mean. So a sailor, that would be a person. Okay, like
Mhm.
Popeye, that's a sailor. Uh, I think because in Italian you say like to navigate the web. In English, I guess we would say to surf the web, though I don't think it's even used that much anymore. I remember like when the
Mm,
internet first like came about, that was like, oh, to surf the web, surf the interwebs.
yeah.
So I guess you could, technically say, Maria Teresa, to surf the web, to surf the internet. Um, but I don't know. At least to me, it feels like a bit of an outdated term. I would just, I guess, say to browse, or
Yeah.
it's just also so common these days that even we're always on the web, right? So I don't know. I guess I just specify
Yeah.
whatever it is that I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean,
Looking
you can
things up. I don't know.
get more specific, watching YouTube videos, looking things up. You could talk
Yeah,
about looking through the timeline of Facebook or Twitter or whatever it is very often. So,
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Browsing is a good one as well. I mean, you can tell I'm just browsing, which we can use also in shops. If a shop assistant asks you, "Oh, can I help you?" Say, "I'm just browsing," as in you're just kind of looking around. You don't have a specific objective. So also for the internet, I mean, we talk about an internet browser, right? Like Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, whatever. Those are all browsers. Cool. All right, we're gonna move ahead here. So now, guys, we would really like to focus the remaining of the lesson on practicing the passive. Okay, so we've got 4 inventions here. Uh, and let me just open. Oh, I think I already have it open. So I'm gonna switch the screens from this one to. Oh, we gotta open it. Okay. All right. So here we've got the potato chip, Google's driverless car, blue jeans, and Coca-Cola. So I'm gonna ask Maria Teresa, how about you choose the invention to start with? We probably have time to do 2 of them. So choose the one you want. And what we're going to try to do is we're going to first read about this invention, and then together we're going to try to transform some of those sentences from active to passive so we can practice what we talked about in the beginning. So let us know, Maria Teresa. Coca-Cola, blue jeans, potato chips, or what was the other one? The driverless car? Yeah.
Very American inventions, blue jeans and Coca-Cola.
Yeah, I was like really surprised, doing these lessons. I didn't know about the origins of any of these, and it's just so interesting. I mean,
Is it?
Coca-Cola, I kind of knew. I knew it was some kind of medication, but I didn't know like what exactly it was for, how it came to be.
Mm,
And also, I guess the word chips, that's also very, because you would say crisps as well.
absolutely, I
Yeah.
would say crisps. Also, though, in Ireland, we have a specific crisp brand called Tato. So we tend to call any crisps Tatoes,
Ah.
which is short for potato.
Okay, so she chose Coca-Cola. Fantastic. All right. I'm gonna make this a bit bigger. And actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this on like full screen like that, and you can see it a bit better. Wait, I'm gonna move it to. All right. So I maybe drag this. Okay, is that good?
Mm,
So yeah, so hopefully you can see this nice and well, Maria Teresa. So basically here we have a series of bullet points that tell you the origins, the history behind this invention, Coca-Cola. And you can also see that we have some underlined verbs. And so wherever you see these underlined verbs, let's try and switch that into the passive. And so the easy way to do this, okay, just look at the object, look at the thing that is receiving the action. So we'll do the first one with you. So Sean, do you want to just read that first point there?
Dr. John Smith Pemberton invented Coca-Cola on May 8th, 1866 in Atlanta, Georgia.
Exactly. So the first thing we got to do, fantastic, Mayates. All right, you're way ahead of us. Yeah, just look at the object. Start with that, the Coca-Cola. Or for this case, you can say Coca-Cola. You don't need the. It's a proper name. So Coca-Cola was invented by Dr. John blah 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 on May 8th. Fantastic. Perfect. So, Maria Teresa, so I think it's pretty clear. So how about you do all of these? Okay, so look at each bullet point and then try to put it into the passive. And yeah, you don't have to write out the whole sentence, or if there's like extra information, you just put dot, 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 and it's fine. So Sean and I will read them in the meantime while you try it. All right, so I'll do maybe all the way to here. I'll do it to French wine coca. So, all right, so the first one again, Dr. John Smith Pemberton invented Coca-Cola on May 8th, 1866 in Atlanta, Georgia. In 1886, the U.S. government enacted a prohibition law banning all alcoholic products from the market. The law persuaded Dr. Pemberton to redevelop his French wine coca, a popular headache remedy that contained alcohol. At the time, almost all of the Atlanta pharmacists were selling Dr. Pemberton's French wine coca.
Shortly thereafter, Dr. Pemberton created a new non-alcoholic syrup, which he combined with carbonated water to create a new beverage. His customers sampled and pronounced excellent the new carbonated drink, and Dr. Pemberton placed it on sale for 5 cents a glass. In 1893, the owners of Coca-Cola registered the drink at the U.S. Patent Office. In 1894, an artist painted the first outdoor wall advertisement for Coca-Cola, and in 1955, they began packaging Coca-Cola in cans.
Perfect. So yeah, Maria Teresa, so just slowly give us the each bullet point there. We can help you out if there are any errors. Do you like Coca-Cola, Sean?
I do. I really love it. But you know what? The more you think about it, the more it's a strange thing to drink because, I mean, other soft drinks they come from a fruit, like Fanta is orange and Sprite is lemon and lime. I mean, what is Coca-Cola? Kind of, I wonder sometimes.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's a very bizarre one. And it's the only one that I crave, to be honest. In growing up, I mean, in the US, like soda is just so common. I mean, you drink soda all the time. Actually, it's funny. I was having a lesson with a student once, and her daughter moved to the States, and so she kind of travels there pretty regularly. And we're doing this lesson, which was about like cultural differences, cultural observations, or whatever. And so I was asking her some of the, things in the US that she found odd. And she mentioned one thing which I had never thought about before, is the fact that in the US, like people always have a drink in their hands. And it's so true. In the US, people always have a drink. Like if you're driving, you have a drink. If you're walking around, if you're at home, you always have like a big glass of something. And soda is a big one. We drink it a lot. It's something like Italians would never consider drinking soda with a meal, for example. Like you wouldn't sit down for dinner with Coca-Cola. But for us, like totally normal. And ever since moving here, I just don't drink it anymore, really, and I never crave it except for Coca-Cola. Like every now and again, I just have this like really strong urge, and then I need to buy it.
No, it's not something I could drink all the time. It's just not very good for you at all, I don't think. So you shouldn't have it in your hand at any given moment. I would argue.
Yeah. I love how here, like, you can't even find like the 2 liter bottle. Whereas like in the US, we got like the equivalent of like 3, 4 liters, like these like gigantic bottles. Um, all right, let's see. So the next one, so prohibition law, and then was exactly because it's one law. So in 1886, a prohibition law was enacted by the U.S. government. Exactly. So in this case, for
Mhm.
example, Maria Teresa, it's totally fine to say by the U.S. government. If since we're talking about a law, I mean, of course, we can also have local laws like state laws, city laws, etc. But it's also okay if you don't want to mention the subject. It's totally fine. So in 1886, a national prohibition law was enacted banning all alcoholic products, and then you don't even need that subject there.
Mhm.
Yes, French wine Coca-Cola was sold. That works okay. It's fine grammatically. If we want to be just like nitpicky here, because the original example uses the continuous form, if you wanted to be like 100% in line with that, it would be French wine Coca was being sold. So was, if it's past simple, was being continuous. I mean, in this example, they both of them work really. Continuous.
Mhm.
Okay, nicely done.
Yeah, I find passives are not much of a problem for students, but whenever there is, there's more than one word, so it's not was or is. You get two auxiliaries, like it was being, has been.
Has
They get
been.
very alarmed. But I mean, the rule is exactly the same. You just have to change to be to the tense.
Exactly. I find it's just sometimes like ironing it out and making it smoother. That's like where the most of the corrections are.
Mhm.
For example, that next one there is probably going to be a bit trickier because we got to try to use two passives in the same sentence. We'll see. Fun fact about Coca-Cola too is that the original recipe, which is what we drink here in Europe, was was just brought back to the States like very, very recently.
Really, they changed it. Why?
I remember growing up, like going to like Brazil. Like I used to love Coca-Cola because it was just so much better. Because the original recipe is what we drink here with sugar. In the US, for the longest time, it was made with high fructose corn syrup because it's cheaper.
Oh, oh
And but then
God.
it gives it a much more. I mean, it's more unhealthy and it's less carbonated. It's like sweeter, less carbonated. It's just almost like a heavier sort of like liquid. So not as
Mm,
nice. And then there was like this growing market in the US. People were selling Mexican Coke because they would import it from Mexico, and that was gaining so
oh,
much popularity that they rebranded it. And now that's why even in Europe now you see on the can says original taste,
mm-hmm,
but it never
mm-hmm,
changed. I mean, in Europe, that whole original taste is just it's always been the same, but that's because in the US they're calling it original flavor, original taste, something like that. um,
I do actually, funnily enough, prefer the Italian Coca-Cola to the Irish Coca. I don't know if it's in my head, but I think it's a bit. It's like more lemony here or something, or maybe it's just the weather. You know, in Ireland, it's always cold, and it's Coca-Cola is nicer on a hot day.
Yeah, because I don't know if I ever noticed much of a difference with Coca-Cola in within Europe. I noticed a huge one with Fanta. Fanta is like different in every country.
Hmm,
Even the color. I mean, you look at the American Fanta. I mean, it is like almost red, whereas in Italy, it's like this really
God,
light, almost yellow.
God.
All right, guys. So perfect. Okay, right. That is as the next example. So let's see. A new non-alcoholic syrup was created by Dr. Pemberton, and this syrup and carbonated water were combined. Okay, so here, what I would say, very good example. I mean, you use the uh, passives correctly, just in terms of making the sentence flow a bit better. Here, I would say, so a new alcoholic drink. Okay, let me go back here. So, a new non-alcoholic syrup was created by Dr. Pember. So that's right. And then I would maybe say, which was combined with carbonated water to create a new beverage. So that case, it just becomes a little bit less repetitive. Also, yes, because see the way you said, so or you could say this syrup was combined with or carbonated water. Yeah, was combined with carbonated water, was added, something like that. And it just flows a little bit better. Okay, and since we only have a minute left, Maria Teresa, if you want, maybe you can just follow this with us as we just kind of do the next, just some last few examples. So here, maybe Sean, let's just alternate it. So for
Hmm.
the next one, I would say, so the new carbonated drink was sampled and pronounced excellent, and it was placed on sale for 5 cents a glass.
Hmm. The drink was registered at the U.S. Patent Office in 1893.
Exactly. And see, that's a really good example there how we don't need to include the subject because obviously, if a patent was made, it has to be by the creators, it has to be by the owners. And in 1894, the first outdoor wall advertisement for the product was painted.
Hmm. And Coca-Cola uh, began to be packaged in cans in 1955.
Exactly. All right. So, Maria Teresa, one thing I guess we can give you in the meantime, let's just, I'm going to maybe show you another one. Actually, maybe blue jeans can be a good one, nice and long. So, feel free to maybe pause the video here. And this is an exercise you can do at home on your own, is to try to, so have a look at the text, think of the examples first, and then try to tell the story in a natural way. So instead of going bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, bullet point, try to kind of make it a little bit more interesting with some nice transitions. So imagine you're telling the story of this invention to someone. Like, how would you make this a little more natural? Because I think you're doing a fantastic job with the grammar. So we can also always work on your transitions, on delivery, etc. Okay. So we'll just leave that there if you want to practice. I mean, then again, you guys can pause. So let me just show you all of them. This one and this one. Okay, so here you go. There's something to do in your 3-day weekend. Alrighty, guys. So this is about it. That's all the time we have. Anything you want to add there, Sean, before we wrap up?
No, I will be doing the next hour's 8 to 10 webinar. If you want to join me, we will be doing Focus 8 to 10 Auction House. So feel free to tune in.
Alrighty. All right, guys. Cool. So Have a nice long weekend, and I'll see you guys around at some point. So have a
Bye
good
bye
one.
bye.
Bye, bye, Sean.
Good night. Bye, Thiago.